How do you sell your house on your own? It sounds like a scary thing, guys, but I'm here to offer a testimonial of me selling my house just under a year ago, guys. It saved me $8,000 on the broker fees or the realtor fees on the end of it, and I'm gonna walk you through how to do that, guys. Listen, welcome to the Independent Investor Channel. My name is Ryan. We're coming to you from New York City, the Big Apple. It's so good to be with you guys. I'm gonna jump right into it, guys. I've got 9 points on the board here that I'd like to start. This will be the first in a series of for sale by owner, and I'd like to push this initial video out there to you guys and kind of talk about my experience for selling my house on my own, okay? The first thing that you're going to want to do when you're looking at selling your house is, get the house prepared. You're going to need to look at cleaning the house, and I'm talking not just vacuuming the floors. I'm talking about doing a deep clean. You're going to need to identify what you're going to need to do in regards of repairs, okay? You certainly don't want those things to be coming up in process, okay? You want to take care of as much as you possibly can prior to putting your house on the market, guys. And these are all things that you can control, okay? So in preparation for offering your house to the market, you certainly want to go through the house and make sure it's prepared, and that's going to help you show it. It's going to help when you take your photos, and it's going to help with step number 2 when you actually have the appraisal come in, all right? Now, this is one thing that in retrospect, I wish I would have done, okay? I went online. I knew my market within about a $10,000 range, probably as accurate as $5,000 plus or minus as far as the sales price that I wanted to offer my house up to the market for, okay? But the one thing that I did not do is actually hire somebody to come in and offer a professional appraisal for me, okay? They would have basically given me documentation, and that documentation would have attested to a price based on comparables in the neighborhood. Now, I pulled 50, 60 comparables online from houses that I felt justified the home. But without that appraisal in hand, it really became somewhat of a debate about the sales price, and it will. Realtors are going to want to come in and they're going to want to beat you up on the price, and that's fine. That's their job. They're trying to get the best price for their client, okay? But an appraisal can really help have that hard documentation to justify your sales price, all right? But you do need to understand your local market. Across the U.S. right now, real estate is actually really hot, and folks really aren't having a lot of problems with selling homes, and especially this will be a very viable option for people who are in those hot markets that don't just want to give away their money to broker fees, all right? The next thing you're going to want to do is market your product, market your home. And when it's prepared for marketing, when it's clean and the repairs are done and you guys are ready to enter the market, the platform that I used was forsalebuyowner.com. I found it to be really, really useful. I used a lot of the information online. I did a lot of research before I put the house on the market, all right? I used a lot of the information that they had online to really help me because it was my first time going at it. If I had sold my house for sale by owner, over the course of, 5 different sales, I would have been a lot more prepared, but it was my first home sale. So when I went in here and started to research on the for sale by owner platform, it really, really helped me get a lot of the information that I needed to prepare myself. It gave me all the information about how to take a photo, how to properly prepare your house for market, really, and a lot of it is common sense, guys. It is made up to be so much harder than it needs to be, guys, and you really need to hear testimonials of people that have actually gone through the process like myself, all right? If I had to do it over again, for sale by owner offers different packages, and I ended up opting for the elite package. It was around $5.99 or $6.99. It was more than justified. It included the listing on the MLS. With that piece to that package, you will need to opt a quarter point, 0.25%. To a broker to actually have that listing placed on the MLS. Now, in my particular situation, my home sold within a matter of hours, and I was actually able to get that brokerage fee refunded back to me. And if I had it to do over again, guys, I would have just advertised my house using Zillow and Realtor.com The helpful thing about for sale by owner is that I populated that site, and then when I made the advertisement live, it actually populated to Zillow and populated to Trulia and populated to Realtor.com automatically. So I didn't have to go into each individual site and populate each individual site. So that was a really big help, but I believe I could have done the exact same thing with lesser of a package, okay? Now, what comes along with marketing is photos, guys, and I know that realtors are going to watch this and previous realtors, and they're going to throw out the 14% for sale by owner, get less 14%, and that's what the statistic shows. Guys, there's a reason for that, okay? I've seen a lot of for sale by owner advertisements online, and the photos suck, okay? They're horrible. You can't expect to sell your house unless you're willing to take the time necessary to stage each room and get them prepared to take a photo, all right? What I'm gonna do is actually offer my listing on my YouTube channel and allow folks to go in there and actually look at the photos that I took with just my regular camera by holding the camera up in the corner of the room and shooting the room in a lot of different angles and then going through there and picking the very best ones that I thought showed the room bigger. It actually made the space look bigger, waited for appropriate light. Another thing that I did is I actually put my home on the market in the early spring in the Detroit, Michigan area, and there was still snow on the ground. Well, in anticipation of me putting my house on the market, I actually prepared photos from the summer previous, and it really stuck out when I put those summer photos on there in late February when there was snow on the ground. You can imagine when you put that online, it really sticks out. And that's probably why I got, 200 or 300 phone calls within, putting my home on the market there, okay? Now, the description, again, with the link that I'm going to provide to you guys, you can go ahead and read the description. This is another way for sale by owner folks to really fall short in that they don't put a good description on there, all right? You really need to be descriptive, and in that description, it really needs to sell the home. It really needs to put a potential buyer in your home and make sure that they understand that it is in fact a home and not necessarily a house, okay? So I'm going to leave that example in the comments section of my YouTube channel, guys. Go in there and check out the listing. I built the listing myself, and it paid off dividends when we came time to close. Guys, the showings, that goes without saying. The secret is you're going to want to have brokers come into your house realtors come into the house that are looking to buy your house. They're representing the buyer. You're going to want to check credential, okay? That's something that you're going to want to do, that you're offering them into your house. They're never going to be offended if you ask for their license, okay? That's point number one. Number two is you're going to be on the hook to show the house. I enjoyed it. There is no realtor out there that knew my house better than me, and the showing went extremely well. The buyer's agent did offer a really good tip during the first showing, and it only took one showing to sell my house. I didn't show it multiple times, but she offered some really good advice, and that's to turn the lights on. Even during the midday, it actually makes the space look really big. So you want to make sure and turn every light on and make sure that every single speck and every corner of that house is spotless and crystal clean for your showing. All right? So that's showing. Realtor fees. This is a real interesting one, and I've seen some previous for sale by owner videos on YouTube that really got the fees screwed up, guys. It's 6%. It's 3% for the seller's agent, and it's 3% for the buyer's agent, okay? You're working on behalf of the seller, all right? You're looking to have buyers come into your home, okay? So chances are they are already working with a realtor, okay? In my particular case, it worked out really, really well because I was able to work with her to work on both of our behalf. Now, don't get me wrong, she did not have my best interest in mind. She did not work for me. She worked for the buyer. However, she had already signed the contract with the buyers, and they really wanted the house. So I was able to negotiate the realtor fees actually down to 2%, okay? Don't think for a second that you just have to automatically pay the industry standard of 3%. And they're going to expect this, guys. For the realtors that are watching this, I know that it's not a good topic to talk about. My realtor, or the realtor that was buying my house, I was actually really encouraged by the work that she did, and I actually took that quarter point that I got refunded and I actually pushed that over to her because she actually handled all the contractual agreements throughout the course of the negotiation, and I just felt right bumping that up to 2.25%. That's as comfortable as I felt. Now the remaining 3.75% I pocketed. I netted $8,000 at closing. That went into my pocket because I was basically representing myself. Most people just volunteer that money and give it away at closing, okay? The sales agreement is what's going to come next. That's basically where you've identified, a buyer. You've looked at their pre-qualification letter. You've looked at their, their finances, they've signed on with the agent, right? And then you sit down and you come to an agreement basically on what sales price you're looking at, a sales agreement to buy the house, okay? Throughout the course of this process, and what happened in my particular home sale is that the buyer's agent handled the addendums and the repairs. Now during this, the buyer's going to want to have an inspector come in and do the inspection of the house. And my house was early 1960s, so there was a few repairs that were necessary, and I felt fine doing that. I actually just paid for it. A lot of people will want to reduce the sales price to account for some of those repairs. I was more than happy to do some of the repairs. They were reasonable. I had a good buyer. I felt good about it, and we were kind of locked in at this point when the addendums and the inspections started to go through that process, okay? And this process can actually take a little bit of time, a few weeks. We actually had a few addendums to the contract to make sure that that work got done in a timely manner, okay? Now, the title company, I cannot underestimate or understate the importance of the title company for sale by owner folks. Guys, listen, if this is something that interests you and you're interested in doing a little bit of research on for sale by owner, you hear guys like me testimonials about, this is a super easy process, and this is the first time I did this. I will never sell a house with a realtor again, ever. Because I don't buy into me being the 14% lower of a sales price. And I'll tell you why when we get to the appraisal, okay? The house has to appraise for value. But the title company is the one that does the majority of the work, okay? They really do. And if you can establish and identify a good title company in your area that can work on your behalf, most of these guys now have for sale by owner packages that they'll give you. And you're going to want to simply give them a phone call and introduce yourself, tell them you're selling your property. And they're going to send you all the documentation via email now. It's so easy to do. Normally a realtor would do that on your behalf, guys, but remember, we're looking to work on our own behalf and save the commissions on the back end, okay? I cannot underestimate or overstate the importance of the title company in checking to whether or not there's liens on the property, making sure that the legal documentation, my title company had a lawyer on retention for the review of all the packages before we moved to close. Guys, they did all the work. They did all the work, and they were a pleasure to work with. They really didn't have any vested interest at all in seeing the particulars of the negotiation. They just had a vested interest into helping it close. All right, so very important to identify a title company that you choose. Now, your buyer can choose whatever title company that they want, and you can choose whatever title company you want. And that's what happened in my negotiation, is that I actually felt like I got a better deal from another title company, and they were completely fine with that. And the fees just got split down the middle between the two title companies, and it was very easy to negotiate that close. All right, now the appraisal process is probably the most stressful piece. Now, keep in mind, you're at the home stretch as you've worked through these 9 points of for sale by owner, okay? But when you get to the appraisal, this is the financial company or the financee of the buyer sending in an independent appraiser, different from this appraisal, to try to justify the money or the offer that's been made on the house and to make sure that the loan to value justifies the offer price, okay? Now, the extreme benefit of the for sale by owner is that you get to represent yourself during this particular negotiation. Now, if you have a realtor represent yourself, they will either attend this meeting or they won't, guys, okay? I was at this meeting, okay, and I was able to talk to the appraiser, and I was able to tell them all the hard work and the blood, sweat, and tears that I was able to put into this house, guys. It made a difference. It made a difference. And the house appraised for value, our asking price, or our price was 210, and the house appraised for 210.4. Okay, so I was actually within $400 of all this research that I did over here, even without the professional appraiser, before even thinking about putting it on the market. All right, very important step, guys. The last step here, closing, guys, this is when really all the headache of going through this process, and I say headache because you're talking about a month, 5 weeks, up to a couple months maybe of process to get to this closing, guys. But this is where you cross the finish line, guys. This is when you validate the decision that you make back here to go on your own and for sale by owner. And you guys know that tune into the Independent Investor channel. I'm not into fees. I'm into strategic planning, and just a slight tweak of your program will result in you saving so much money on the back end, guys. This is the back end here. And in this particular deal here, I was able to save $8,000 on the total realtor fees that would have been paid out at the end. I got to keep that money, all right? Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to For Sale by Owner and how to sell your house on your own. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I encourage you to do so. Share the link with anybody who you know may be looking to sell their house, and present this as an option. Have them watch my testimonial, guys. I just secured this business, you know, made a $70,000 profit on this, and saved the $8,000 on the back end, you know, on this particular deal, guys. And hopefully you got something out of it. Leave your comments in the bottom. I'm curious to see what type of decision this or commentary this this video kind of promotes amongst my viewers. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I appreciate it. And good luck on selling your house on your own.